how do I move on? I don't really know. Sometimes, how do I stay strong? So if you really know, can you help me out for now or not? So if you really know, can you help me out for now? I don't really know. Sometimes, how do I move on? I don't really know. Sometimes, how do I stay strong? So if you really know, can you help me out for now or not? So if you really know, can you help me out for now? I don't really know what's going on or what's in my mind. When I look at time, feel like it's in my grasp, but it sort of gets me every time. I'll run away, I'll never hide. When the truth comes, I'ma be just fine. When the day awaits and the night alive, yeah, we gon' be alright.
He said, move around, what you doing now? Doing now, said my mind gone. He said, why now? I said, I lost it now. He said, really hot.
Shalom, fam. Welcome to another episode of our show. We some of the brothers from the body of Christ Church. And as always, it's a blessing and a pleasure to come forth and bring forth the words of the living God to his people. We have a special show for you guys today. We're going to be doing this for a few weeks. I think it's a lot of information that we have to cover. And being that we've been lied to so much, there's so much that we have to bring out. And as you can see, the topic is scattered. And we're starting with the ancient Phoenicians because we are going to go into the history of how Israel came out of Europe into the slave trade. But in order to do that, we have to give a level of understanding on how we got into Europe in the first place through the course of history. And there's no better place to start than to start with the ancient Phoenicians. So before we get into it, I'm going to give my partner, my brother here, an opportunity to say something to the people. So go ahead, Aban.
Most High in Christ bless you all, and we give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High through Christ for giving us the time, the little bit of understanding that they have given us, and the opportunity for, Lord willing, a technical, difficulty-free class to come out here and edify our people and exhort our people. And hopefully, you know, when you ponder what we're going to go over and consider it, you will be able to be of an understanding of how many lies that we've been told from our youth and from our generations before us, you know. And stay close to the mic, bro.
Oh, yeah? You having a hard time hearing me?
No, you're just a little low. That's all, you know. Don't hit the recliner button. That's all. The mic is good. You just got to stay close to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, the lies, the scriptures say in Revelation that the devil shall cast out his mouth a great flood to carry the woman away. Mm-hmm. And our people is carried away with a bunch of lies. And I know when I first started learning and studying myself, a lot of things and a lot of information I was hearing was hard to believe. And as you begin to learn more, you know, you hear things and you kind of keep it in the back of your head. But as you learn more and you start to understand more, and that's when you really start to see that, wow, these things are true. And, you know, they got a thing in history where they say to the victor belongs history. And that's exactly what happened, you know, because the history has been totally polluted. So one of the things I wanted to start with, I'm kind of go old school on y'all, because there's some things that I want to give a little understanding of, because like I said, we so far removed from any true history that a lot of people that may be out there never heard of blacks being in Europe and things of that nature, you know, it's to the point where parts of Egypt, like in Egypt itself, people think that it was white people that were the rulers of ancient Egypt. And when you talk about Phoenicia, that whole area, even a lot of the videos we checked out, you know, when we're doing research on this to do this show, a lot of videos showing the Phoenicians as being European people. So that's the first thing I want to try to hit, you know, as a foundation before we get into it. So I want to pull this book out. It's called Our Living Bible. I'm gonna put it up on the screen, matter of fact, because I have it in let me pull it up real quick.
Okay.
Because I want to show something out of it to make sure everybody have a good understanding on some of the lies that's out there. Let me see. Let me go in here real quick. Oh man, I got a lot more things in here than I thought. So this is the book here. As you can see, the author on the page. You want to read that author's name for me if you can?
Okay. The name of the book is Our Living Bible. The author is Michael Aviona and Emil G. Kraling.
Okay. So this picture right here is a picture that's in the Bible, that's in this book. Okay, let me fast forward. Let me go. The first picture I wanted to pull out is this right here, because this is what we're gonna be dealing with. This shows the descendants of Ham. You want to read Genesis for me? Genesis the 10th chapter. I'm not gonna pull it up because I want to focus on this picture here.
Okay. I'm going to read Genesis 10.
Read verse 6.
I think it's 6 and 7, right? Genesis 10, verse 6. And the sons of Ham, Cush and Mizraim and Put and Canaan.
So these 4 sons right here shows you, if you can see it, it says Egyptians. It shows you the Egyptians here. Then it shows you the Canaanites after the Egyptians. And the reason why I really want to show this, because Egypt is where Israel was in slavery. It shows you dark people, Africans. Then it shows you Canaanites, another race of dark people, which were also during the time that Israel was in Egypt, were the ancient Phoenicians during the time of the Bronze Age. Then it has Nubians, which are Cushites. Then it has the Libyans right here. So you see that all these are different dark races of people, because that's another thing with our people in America. From our education, everybody thinks that once you say black people, everybody is the same people. You know what I'm saying? They just think blacks in America and blacks in Africa are all the same. It's like it's one race. But when you go into the history, and it's all because of the brainwash and how we've been raised, you know, and how we've been taught. That's why even in the West Indies, you talk about a race of people, they think black people are all Africans, not understanding there was different families, even when you go into Africa, that they're not all the same. They never was unified under one group, unless you go all the way back to the very beginning, when after Noah's Ark. But soon after that, they separated. Okay, so I wanted to read that, and what we're going to be dealing with too is read verse 15 about the Canaanites.
Okay.
15
Genesis
down to 18 for me.
You said what verses?
Just read 15 first and stop.
Okay. Genesis 10, verse 15. And Canaan begat Zidon, his firstborn, and Heth.
Okay, so Zidon, Canaan's firstborn, is one of the capitals of Tyre and Zidon. Matter of fact, Zidon's sons found Tyre. So Tyre and Zidon were the land where it was recognized as the capital area of ancient Phoenicia, which we're going to show you that. But Heth, the son Heth, is where you get the Hittites. And the Hittites, we're going to show you, spread it all the way across Syria, all the way into Turkey. Was Canaan's son Heth. So go ahead, read on.
Genesis 10, verse 16. Well, I'll read 15 again. And Canaan begat Zidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite, and the Arkite, and the Sinite, and the Arvadite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamathite. And afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad.
So there was spread abroad that whole land of what the Greeks call Phoenicia, the Phoenicians, or the land of Canaan, which later on, when the Israelites came out of Egypt, became known as the land of Israel. And we're going to show you that also. But hold on a second. Let me get something else here. So I want to also look at this. This is in the book also, and it's a picture of the Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
It says, and the sons of Jacob carried Jacob, the sons of Israel carried Jacob their father, their little ones and their wives in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. They also took their cattle and their goods which they had gained in the land of Canaan, and came into Egypt, Jacob and all his offsprings. So this is supposed to be a picture of them. And can you see this over here?
It says
It's
arrival of Semites in Egypt.
Ben Hassan painting, which is a area in mid Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of burial ground, but they have tombs over there where they found these paintings.
Okay. So and that's something about how, you know, the Greeks really weren't into, you know, Alexander the Greek came up in 336 BC. And then after his death, I would say around 300 BC, Ptolemy came in and took over Egypt and had a Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt. That's when that Greekish influence came into Egypt for the first time. But we see that this influence today, and especially after the Greeks and their descendants in Rome and stuff started spreading throughout the world, we see that nowadays the influence is so great that they call Egypt the southernmost part of Europe. That's what they've said it. That this saying is like 10, 15 years old. We also see that, especially for hundreds of years, the rulers in the Middle Ages or so-called Dark Ages of Europe, they're presented as what we now know as Europeans or Greek or Romans, but they weren't that way originally. And we're going to see that, you know, these pictures are bringing out stuff. You could just do a quick internet search for, you know, like, for instance, the true depiction of Israel, and you'll come upon different pre-1500, pre-200 AD, and even some around paintings from around the time of Christ of what they look like. But nowadays we have this other image that's been presented to us. That's all.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's an interesting point you're bringing out, because when you look at that world going all the way back to the time of the Phoenicians, or after that, when you look at the Greeks, for example, Alexander, when he conquered that known world at that time, his son Seleucus had Asia Minor, and Asia Minor area was all dark people, as we can see, because if we talk about Turkey was of people of African descent or descendants of Canaan, the Canaanites, for better. So you better understand the Canaanites, which were sons of Ham, which were all dark people, which are all known, because the land of Ham is known as Africa now. in a biblical term, you know, these dark people were all in that area of Lebanon, Turkey, Syria, Israel. You know, that whole area was filled with dark races of people. But after Alexander the Great conquered, with he left one of his generals, Seleucus, which were in that area. You're talking about 333 BC, from the time of Alexander, and then the Seleucus dynasty, which reigned over there all the way to the time of the Romans. The Romans came up, and then the Romans stayed in that area. So all the way to this day. And we look here that Europeans came here to America, starting in the late 1400s, all the way going into 1500s. So you give them no more than 500 years probably here in America, and you see the face of America change. Well, they've been over there way longer than 500 years. And one of their prime objective was to intermarry with the people of those regions. That's what the Greeks, it's written, it's the real well documented in history that one of Alexander's prime objective was to intermarry with the people of the Persian Empire and the Syrian Empire, and that whole area. They were intermarrying, and they stayed in that area. The Seleucus dynasty conquered that whole area. Matter of fact, one of their capitals was Syria, and they stayed in that area for hundreds of years. So you can see how the faces of that whole area change from the time of the Greeks to the Romans and the Greco-Roman world we in right now.
Yes.
You know, and the lies they used to cover everything up. But there's one more old school thing I want to pull out of this book here, the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, where it talks about the descendants of Ham.
Okay, and then I got an old school scripture too, bro.
Okay, great.
All right.
Read that for me at the bottom where it talks about Ham.
It says Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of all the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. Genesis 10, 6 through 20.
All right, that's what we read. So the Canaanites is the ones that populated that area. The Egyptians was known as Mizraim, which were in Egypt, and another group of the sons of Mizraim were the Philistines. The Philistines also come out of Mizraim, which also was found in that area also, which we had to deal with. Hold on one second. Okay. I want to pull up before I play this clip. I want to show a map of ancient Phoenicia. You had something you wanted to go into before that?
Yeah. I want to pull up a scripture right quick. I got it pulled up. Just let me share the screen.
Okay.
Okay. Because we're talking about this, after the time of Christ, repainting over the images of our people, and, this ain't the first time that it's happened. If you take both of us out the picture, it'll show a little bit larger so people will have a better time reading it. I'm going to start at, this is in First Maccabees, chapter 3, and I'm going to start at 45. This is after Antiochus came, and the Greeks came rather, and basically destroyed the city of Jerusalem and sacked it and did all this damage.
You know what? Can you do something before you read that?
Yeah.
Can you read the first chapter? Or
yeah.
would that be a problem pulling it up?
No, it won't be a problem.
Yeah, read 2 verses in the first chapter, then we'll go to that. Read verse 56 and 57.
Okay. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna start at 53. This is when the Greeks attacked. And it says First Maccabees 1 verse 53. and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor, meaning they had to flee for their lives. So wherever they could flee away to and find some help and assistance or food, clothing, supplies or whatever, succor, to something to help them survive, right? Now, the 15th day of the month Caslu in 145th year, this is the 145th year of their reign, which would make this about, I would believe it's about 160 to 200 BC. They set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar. This is in Jerusalem, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire. Okay. And wheresoever was found any with the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put them or him to death. So that's the persecution that came about, because they was trying to bring about their worldview onto the people, So now they didn't destroy all the law or copies of the law. They didn't destroy all the people. So they did something else. They did a psyop. They did a psychological operation on the people. So First Maccabees 3, I'm going to scroll down to 45. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness, and there was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down. So after they sacrificed all these pigs and abominable animals and on the altar of the temple, and did their Luciferian, basically mystery religion from Babylon, with some, changes. After they did that religion, they tore down the temple, and aliens kept the stronghold. The heathen had their habitation in that place, and joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased. So they put other people there. All right. Wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together and came to Maspha, over against Jerusalem. For in Maspha was the place where they prayed aforetime in Israel. Then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their head and rent their clothes, because they were praying and asking the Most High to help them. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. So whatever copies of the law and testament that they had that they could not destroy, there was some that they left, but they painted their images into these books. So they painted over the things, like you could see, there's things now where they have, there was this one dude that made a short documentary out of it, how they're going through the tombs in Egypt, and they're saying, well, this is dirty from time, because after we open this tomb up for tourists to come through, the pollution that's in the air, and it's making everything dirty, and we got to wipe this stuff off. What they're actually doing is they're painting over all the images in these tombs in Egypt to make them look like them. If you go back, like you went to that book, there's several other books. There's brothers online and offline that dedicate themselves to collecting and disseminating the true images of not only the Africans, but the Israelites. So that's all I had.
Yeah. I was going to go into that too, but it's an excellent point that it's the erasing of the Israelites, which is the point we're going to bring out. That
it's the erasure of the true Israelites, because they have their version of Israel.
Yeah. They made up, but that's what they did with all the history. Anything that Israel did, they covered up with other people and tried to give other people credit for it, which is what we're going to see when we talk about the ancient Phoenicians. And it's also what they do now. They're putting their faces on everything. You know, they put
Yeah.
their faces on the Egyptians, they're putting their faces on the Phoenicians, they're putting their faces on Israel.
Yeah.
And anything that Israel partook of, you don't really read much about it in history because, for example, you got King David and King Solomon, which is one of the greatest kingdoms ever on the planet, but you don't hear nothing about the kingdom of David and Solomon unless you read the Bible.
Yeah, because they've erased it and minimized it. And one other thing, can you pull the first picture of the sons of Ham? Could you pull that back up?
Okay, hold on 1 second. I'll get it back up. Just entertain us while I'll. Okay. Yeah, so history is a mystery.
Yeah, it's one thing about that picture I want to bring out because even though they show that with the Africans, the sons of Ham, magnify that a little bit if you can. But okay, that's good. That's good. Go over to the left. You see the Egyptians are brown skinned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the Canaanites, they're light skinned,
A little lighter,
a little lighter. Then you got the Nubians,
which are Ethiopians.
which they're darker. And then you got the Libyans, which are lighter than the Canaanites.
Yeah.
It's the same way with the children of Israel. Now, if you look here, you can see that traditionally, in modern terms, we would call all of these people black, but none of them are black, not even the darkest brown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's the same way with Israel. It's the same exact way. That was it, bro.
Okay. Another thing people have to understand too is people look at Egypt now and think the people that are in Egypt are the ancient Egyptians, which is false. The people that are in Egypt now, you have to know history, are Arabs because the Arabs conquered that whole area. You know, so
Yep.
So they are not Egyptians, and also the people in Libya are a lot of Arabs in Libya now. But at one time, Israel was highly populating that whole area of North Africa, which is also part of the Phoenician Empire. Matter of fact, let me pull up a map. I got several maps on it, but I'm just
I got one too. And a link is especially dealing with Phoenicia.
Yeah, I don't know which one should be better. Let me see. But one thing let me get this one right here about ancient Egypt to get people a little bit of understanding. Now you see the different dynasties here.
Yeah.
You see the new dynasty, which Israel was in, and Israel came out during that time. But if you look right here, you see that the Egyptian empire went all the way into that area.
Yes.
Of Tyre and Zidon and Biblios. That was all part of their empire when Israel was in Egypt. So around at the end of the Bronze Age, which is around 1200 BC, going into this Iron Age, is when around the time Israel came out of Egypt. And if you look at the new maps, Egypt don't have that area no more.
Yeah.
King Solomon, under King Solomon David, they took all this area.
Well, even before that, when we came out of, because the Lord destroyed Egypt and its army and spoiled their people, giving us gold and silver and stuff like that on the way out. You can read that in Exodus chapter 12, and then destroyed the army in the Red Sea, which Jacques Cousteau, on his last expedition, before they finally, I believe that's why they silenced him and didn't give him no more play, but he went in the Red Sea and found chariot wheels and stuff like that, but that was kind of hushed and stuff like that because they're really trying to minimize who, what, and why the true children of Israel are. So, and one more thing before we go on, we might seem like we're going back and forth in time and stuff like that, but what we did was we didn't really talk about this topic except to just say, hey, listen, the brother said, I want to do this topic. I said, okay, all praises. Lord's will, we'll get it done. And he went and did some, internet sleuthing, and so did I. And we're coming up on these things. And, even though we might jump back and forth in time, we're going to try to maintain a somewhat chronological series. But the thing is, the Most High is bringing this out that, this is a lie that has to be uncovered and shown for what it is. And the scriptures even match up to what the secular history, the real secular suppressed history, is showing us. That's it.
The scriptures are going to expose lies.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If that's the thing about history, man. You really got to be able to filter it through the scriptures.
Yeah.
Because there's so much lies out there. You have to filter it through the scriptures, and the scriptures will expose the lies and the cover-ups. Before I play this clip, let's go. Let's read something. Read Genesis 15 chapter verse 18. Start at verse 18.
Okay.
I want to
Genesis, you said 15. I'm pulling it up. 15 and 18. So let me share the screen here. And there we go. Genesis 15 and 18. All right. And it says, in that same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates.
Okay, I want to pull up that map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking at that too. I pulled up a map on that too.
Can you see it? Because it's not that big. We might have to use yours.
Yeah, I saw that map.
Let me see if I can open it up. So the Euphrates is here. So you see, Euphrates is takes a big part of Syria.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way up to Egypt. The Nile River is the river of Egypt. So the borders of Israel is a lot greater than what they show you. So all this land here, which are the land of the Hittites, really belong to Israel.
Yes.
When you look at Lebanon belongs to Israel. Tyre and Zidon, that's all Israelite territory, and we're going to show you that. That's all part of the Israelites' kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And a chunk of what's this, Upper Egypt?
Yes.
It's all part
yeah.
of the inheritance of the children of Israel.
Yep.
So
and you know what? One thing it says Greater Israel at the bottom. This is the concept that they're coming out with now, because they want to build the third version. Well, the third temple that they're planning on building. It's for their purposes, but they're going to establish it by men. And they're using this border that's outlined here as the definition for their, for their boundary that they're going to try to put up. And this has been known for, just do some internet sleuthing, Greater Israel, Third Temple, and all this other stuff. But the thing is, we got to look at, matter of fact, let me
finish reading that for me.
Okay, yep. I'm sorry. Genesis 15, verse 18. In that same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites.
So he didn't only give us that land which they were in, but he also gave them to us as an inheritance.
Yes.
We're going to read that also. We're going to read that also, that they were our possessions.
Yep.
You know? So would you had something else you want to bring up?
Yes. Let me share the screen here. Actually, it's a little bit more. Can you see my mouse moving on the
No.
thing?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Euphrates comes from here, goes up, you know, through Syria, all right, and then goes east and north. Okay. But if you look, I'm going to scroll down. I don't know if you can see it at the lower left, right? Do you see where my mouse is?
Yeah.
This is the Euphrates River. Now, on the other map, it stopped here, but the Euphrates River keeps going up almost to the Black Sea. So I want you to keep that in mind, because this territory over here going into Turkey to the Euphrates was the Hittite kingdom. Okay, so the kingdom didn't stop, you know, because a lot of new maps, they have it stop like halfway up the Mediterranean coast. Some rarer ones have it stopping at the like this northeast corner of the Mediterranean coast. But the land he promised to him, the Euphrates was the border all the way up. It didn't say Euphrates to a certain point. And the kingdom rather that was up here was the kingdom of the Hittites. So I just wanted to bring that out because it's really fascinating, and it shows you, you know, the lie that has been taught to us, you know, because you look at some of these census that the people did, like David, when he messed up and numbered the people, they didn't even count all of the people, and there's like almost 1.5 million people, you know. So and I'm looking at the map of Israel that they show us, and it's like, how could all those people fit in that little bit of land? Come to find out that there was much more people than that, and the land that was promised was much, much bigger. That was it, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let me play this video.
Yep.
And then we'll jump into it. And by the way, let me get this information for you guys. Oh man, I don't have it written down. I thought I had it written down. This is
what is it?
Yeah, here it goes. The entire history of the Phoenicians.
Okay.
It's by ancient history. History time.
Okay.
So people that may want to go watch the video, I want to give them the credit, so they don't get mad at us and try to take down our page.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to give people credit for their work. You know,
that's true.
Anybody interested in watching that video? It's dealing with the Phoenician Empire from 2,500 BC to 300 BC. But their height, as we're going to show you, was around 1200 BC to 300 BC, which is the time that Israel came out of Egypt.
Yeah.
So let's check it out.
To say that the cities of southern Spain have a rich history would be an understatement. These lively port cities like Malaga, Cartagena, and Cadiz, to name just a few, are where Romans, Vandals, Visigoths, Berbers, Arabs.
I want to stop there too, because I want us to pay attention to Spain, which is also known as the Iberian Peninsula, which is this whole landmass, which is Portugal's part of, but it's right across Africa. And so this is Spain, which is part of the territory. I forgot to bring up that map, but we're going to show a map of it anyway, of ancient Phoenicia. It's part of their territory.
And of course, Castilians all left their mark. However, what most people don't realize is that the founding of many of these cities predates all of these disparate peoples by centuries. For they are some of the oldest cities on the continent. though a scattering of relatively large settlements did exist here in prehistory. The walled Copper Age metropolis of Los Millares tells us that much.
You see the date on there? It was 332 BC that they were in there. The Canaanites were in there.
Yet archaeology suggests that the first
I'm sorry,
true
bro.
city builders
Stop
in
it for a
Spain
second.
seem to
332 BC is 4 years after the rise of Alexander.
No. 3,000.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
200 BC to
Okay.
is that city was there.
have
Okay.
arrived from elsewhere. In the early 1960s, archaeologists discovered the vestiges of an ancient cemetery near the resort town of Almunacar in Spain.
As you can see, it says a Phoenician colony. All right. I
Yep.
wish I could get that thing.
At first, they thought they'd excavated the remains of early Greek colonists who had set up shop in the region. However, it soon became clear that the ceramics being uncovered here were from a place even further to the east than Greece. Their design was typical of those found in the Iron Age world of the ancient Near East. Specifically, the lands known in early antiquity as Canaan.
I want to stop there because I like this map here because it shows you the territories of Egypt, that all this land of Canaan was under the Egyptian rule. So it's the Mediterranean 14th century BC.
Yep. But look at the Hittite king. Look at the Hittite Empire.
Yeah. Yeah, it covers a lot of territory.
Yeah, and all the land of the Hittites was to be given to the children of Israel.
Yeah. Yeah. So it shows you that Israel is a lot bigger because Tyre and Zidon is here. The Byblos is here. So you in Syria here, and this is it goes into part of Turkey.
Yeah.
And the Greece, this area they call in Greece right here, this wasn't Edomite Greeks.
That was Phoenician.
You know, they were Edomites. Nah, they were Japhetic.
Oh, okay.
Having sons of Japhet at that time in history was still there.
Okay.
In the decades that followed, several sites with similar artifacts were discovered not only throughout Spain, but in Morocco, Malta.
All right, right here, this right here is all part of the Phoenician Empire.
Yep.
We're going to show you that.
Sardinia, Sicily, and even, as we have seen, as far away as Britain.
So they went all the way down into Europe, all the way to Britain. They were that far in Europe, because as soon as you cut through the areas of Spain, you go into France, right? And to the right of that is over here is Italy. Just to say, remember, that's how Hannibal went in. He went through Spain and went into Italy.
The archaeologists concluded that the discovery of these Near Eastern ceramics, as well as the Canaanite writing often inscribed upon them, was no fluke.
And by the way, this writing here is Hebrew.
Yep. I was just going to bring that. I got a couple things to bring that out too, bro.
Yeah, that's an important point dealing with the Hebrew.
But confirmation that a group of people the Greeks called Phoenicians had settled en masse throughout the Mediterranean.
So wait a minute. Hold on a second. So these Phoenicians were actually Greeks, but they were thousands of years before the Greek Empire existed.
Well, they know they weren't Greek. They know they were Greek because they got a lot of their things from the Greeks. They say that that a lot of their philosophers quote Phoenicians. They got their alphabet from the Phoenicians. They got their numbering system from the Phoenicians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hopefully, Lord's will, we're going to go through all that. But
certainly by the 9th and 8th centuries BC, and possibly much earlier.
so when you look at 9th century, 8th century BC, who was ruling Phoenicia?
We
Who
know.
were the rulers of Phoenicia?
We know
Okay.
that they gonna tell you something different, you know.
There is a problem, however. There is no known instance of a Phoenician ever calling themselves a Phoenician, or any other collective term for their people.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, that's an important point right there. Go ahead.
Because the term Phoenician didn't come about until the times of the Greeks after 336 BC.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like saying, yo, I'm a Puerto Rican, right? Well, what were you before the late 1400s? Well, Taino, Boricua. So, but no, those are English and Spanish speaking people's interpretations of what those words were and how they were really pronounced. So that's not even right. What were you before that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what were the Phoenicians before the Greeks came up and put their language? It tells you, you just said it. They didn't even call themselves that.
Yeah.
This was something that the Greeks called them, right? So what were you before they called you that?
And they call that whole area of Canaan Phoenicia.
Yes.
The whole territory of Israel was called Phoenicia.
Yep.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Okay.
In their inscriptions, a scattering of which survive, they describe themselves in terms of their individual families and cities, not in terms of a common culture. The archaeology speaks of this too. The city of Byblos, for example, looked more to Egypt than its neighbours. Sidon looked to Greece and Persia, whereas Tyre held close links with Judea.
Hold on. How can Tyre, well, he says Sidon, but
Yeah,
how can Sidon look to Persia and the media and stuff and Greeks when it existed for thousands of years before those kingdoms?
Yeah, I guess they talking about later on.
Yeah. So that's basically one of the most ginormous cultural appropriations ever. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. The only thing that's really true about that statement is Tyre looking to Judah, which is Canaan.
Yeah.
It said Tyre looked to Judah because they were the ones that was their bosses. They were the ones that was running the show. They were basically servants to Israel.
Yeah.
Let me try to rewind a little.
Mm-hmm.
For their people. In their inscriptions, a scattering of which survive, they describe themselves in terms of their individual families and cities, not in terms of a common culture. The archaeology speaks of this too. The city of Byblos, for example, looked more to Egypt than its neighbours. Sidon looked to Greece and Persia, whereas Tyre held close links with Judea and Jerusalem.
See, Tyre, which was the capital and the stronghold, looked to Judea and Jerusalem.
Yes, but Israel had all these lands under control and under tribute.
Absolutely. And it was their territory.
Yes.
The territory of Tyre and Zidon belonged to the children of Asher, which we're going to read.
Yep.
And it was heavily populated with Asher, Dan, and Naphtali.
Yep.
Yet, for the most part, besides a handful of references to a corpus of now lost books, not only can the Phoenicians, the very people usually credited with transmitting the very first alphabet to the Greeks, no longer speak for themselves.
Why they no longer speak for themselves?
Because you erased them.
Exactly.
But those who did write about them almost unanimously despised everything they were.
So the people that's writing about their history despise everything they were. That sounds just like Israel, because what did they do to us? They erased all our records and they covered up our faces with their faces.
Yep.
What would we know of Greece or Rome if every history had been lost or purposely destroyed, besides those written by their enemies? Their libraries burned, temples desecrated. Thus, telling the history of the Phoenicians is a detective story. Nevertheless, since the 1800s, it's been attempted. At first by French scholars such as Ernest Renan.
Okay, that's what I wanted on it. So they say telling the history of them is a detective mystery. It speaks about their books were burnt. All the things you hear about Israel. Their books have been destroyed. Their temples desecrated. Right? So
Yeah.
the history of them is a detective story, which is true. So we had to do some digging. But
Yep.
like we said before, the Bible brings it out.
Yep.
Before we go into I want to go into some history on this, the biblical history. I want to
Okay.
look at something real quick. Let's because the scripture said that they cover the faces of the judges, right?
Yep.
Which we see is being done, but it's not only talking about. A lot of people like to say it's just Esau, but when we read Psalms 83, it talks about all nations have said, "Let us cut them off from being a people," so that they have no remembrance of their history. So let me go to let me open up with Deuteronomy. I want to read something in Deuteronomy.
Okay.
And then we'll jump and show some proof of what was going on at that time. Did you have any maps that showed that the year of their height was because I had a map, I can't find it right now, where it talks about 1200 BC to 300?
Of Phoenicia or Hittite?
Phoenicians.
Phoenicians. Well, I do
Because
have.
Israel came out of Egypt around that time.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Let me see. Let me see. I have a map of the Hittite kingdom.
Well, don't worry about it. Let's just go. Let's just read the scripture real quick.
Okay.
Let's go to Deuteronomy 32.
Okay. Let me get this. Deuteronomy.
I'll put it up on the screen.
Oh, you got it up already? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 32.
Start at 26.
26. I said, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
Okay. So the Most High said, because we were disobedient to his commandments, that he would make the remembrance of us to cease from among men. I really want to read that because we can't give the credit of us being conquered and our history being erased to the nations. It was the Most High that did it because of our disobedience to him. And it's the Most High that's going to bring us back up once we decide to be obedient to him. But it was our disobedience that got us in the condition that we are to this day. So when we don't see no remembrance of our history, it was done by the Most High. Even though he used the nations to do it, it was done by him because he said it in his word that that's what would happen to us. So go ahead, read on.
Verse 27, were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, our hand is high, and the Lord hath not done all this.
So that's what a lot of people think. A lot of Edomites think that they were stronger, they were powerful, that they're great. You know what I'm saying? That they're the greatest nation. A lot of our people say that they give credit to Esau or the Edomites or the Greeks and Romans, whatever you want to call them. They give them the credit for creating civilization. You know, I heard one pastor one time said that black people never did nothing.
Yeah,
Never
okay.
built anything.
Okay.
Don't let no black folks fool you and tell you that. It was the white man that built everything.
Okay.
No, we fell because of our disobedience, and it was done through the hand of the Most High, as we reading right here.
Yeah.
So go ahead, read on.
28, for they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them.
And we can see that now that they're void. When they had the Bible, even though they didn't understand the Bible, they had some level of integrity. They had some level of righteousness and marriage and things of that nature. But now that they're turning their backs on the wisdom of the Most High, you see that they're totally void of any type of understanding, man. Look how many different
I was so down, I was drowning. I ain't know I had a purpose. Looking for you, I was searching for you, and I'm learning. Yeah. I was haunted by the serpent. Had to keep my soul close, cause the Most High is who I'm serving. Yeah. I was so down, I was drowning. I ain't know I had a purpose. Looking for you, I was searching for you, and I'm learning. Yeah. I was haunted by the serpent. Had to keep my soul close, cause the Most High is who I'm serving. Yeah. I was so down, I was drowning. I used to look down in my heart and be drowning. And you know that this water is dark, need to escape, the pressure is hurting. Yeah, deeper I go, stuck in my woes. The sin is a struggle, I'm fighting it though. The pressure inside is cooking my mind. I need to repent, I'm hurting inside. Yeah, every day we go and fight, vigilant till the day that we die. Cause we ain't giving up alive, we just go harder for Christ. Daily battle, daily bread, gotta go eat, gotta stay fed. It ain't no game when the evil try and tread. Watch my back, my brody look ahead. So we defending the truth. If it come down to death, then we dying for you, Lord. So we stay patient, giving them praises all the way up to you, Lord. And the Most High come first, gotta build faith or end up in a hearse. Looking for living waters, searching for living water. I was so down, I was drowning. I ain't know I had a purpose. Looking for you, I was searching for you, and I'm learning. Yeah. I was haunted by the serpent. Had to keep my soul close, cause the Most High is who I'm serving. Yeah. I was so down, I was drowning. I ain't know I had a purpose. Looking for you, I was searching